What is up, Bleacher Report? Jesse here with Last Second Sports coming at you with another 49ers Daily. And real football has started. OTAs underway, and the reporters were able to get in the building today and deliver us exactly what we need, which is some updates on this team. And there were some good things, but I'm going to get the negative things out of the way first. Trent Williams, no shows to OTAs thus far. The 49ers keep saying that he has been around, he's in the building, and maybe that is the case, but nobody's actually seen him. So until he is seen, he remains a man of mystery. It's like those Where's Waldo's books. I don't know. A lot of you are probably too young for Where's Waldo, but Where's Waldo, popular book. You search for a guy wearing a red and white striped clothing in a sea of people, and that is Trent Williams right now. That's exactly what he is. We don't know where he's at. He pops up every once in a while working out, wearing 49ers gear, so that's good, but thus far has not been in the building. And then there's been quite a bit of injuries. The 49ers have been bit a little bit by the injury bug. You've got Ricky Pearsall, who is sitting out due to a hamstring injury. Let's not forget that Ricky had some injuries last year. I know that the tragic event of him being shot kind of overlooks everything when it comes to Ricky Pearsall, but it is true that he's had some injuries and had some injuries that kept him out for a majority of last offseason. Started out with a shoulder injury, then that healed, then it was a hamstring, and then a shoulder again. So another hamstring injury. It sounds like he's going to be out, at least kept out of OTAs or mini camps. And it won't be until training camp that he's able to participate, at least with the 49ers. A lot of that is precautionary, but still, it's not great. Ricky Pearsall needs all the reps that he can get. Yes, he was a very, very polished player when he came into the league, but that doesn't mean that the NFL is not different. That doesn't mean that he doesn't need these reps. And right now, Ricky missing out is not, it's not great overall. Ricky needs to be a big part of this team. And in fact, I'm going to bring him up a little bit later in a topic that I have, but Ricky needs to be a part of this. This is a crucial year for him. This is a crucial year for the team. And the 49ers are trying to find who is the new core. Who are they building around? And Ricky, I'm sure, wants to be a part of that. I know he's worked his butt off this offseason. We've seen tons of clips of him floating around, but the injury bug is a real thing. And, you know, when you add in the fact that he is a little bit slender, smaller frame, you do question, can he truly make it through an NFL season from beginning to end? So let's hope for a speedy recovery for Ricky Pearsall. Hopefully he's able to crush it in training camp, but this is not the best start. Another player who really needs this time, Jair Brown. You know, when Jair was a rookie, he was around Talanoa Hufanga a ton. He really took to Talanoa. He was out early, first guy out type deal. Him and Talanoa would battle for that at training camp. And he ended up coming in the Tampa Bay game at Levi when Talanoa Hufanga hurt. I believe he tore his ACL. And that's when Jair Brown kind of burst on the scene. He had an interception in that game, a couple pass breakups, and he was a really good player the rest of his rookie year. Well, last year he took a bit of a backslide, and now he's got an ankle injury. He's had surgery on it that is going to keep him out until training camp. At least it sounds like he needs a bounce back year. Year 3, he absolutely needs to prove something. Who is he really? He flourished big time under Steve Wilkes. Last year, not so much. And now you've got a new defensive coordinator in Robert Saleh, who you've got to impress all over again. And that safety room is wide open. It truly is. But Jair Brown, man, starting out with the ankle injury, not ideal. Fortunately for him, but unfortunately for the 49ers, they have multiple safety injuries. I mean, This is a team that already moved on from Talanoa Hufanga. The safety room is a bit thin, a bit unknown. They draft a rookie in Marquise Siegel, who is out himself until training camp. The 49ers knew this when they drafted him. And then we already know that Malik Mustafa is out because he retore the graft that repaired his original ACL tear. So not great for the safety room. I don't know if the 49ers are going to end up having to bring in somebody, but you could see, like what was it? 3 years ago, the what was it, 2022 season? When they went out and got a veteran safety kind of last minute, ended up working out, started for him for a long time and or at least for the year and was a good player. Maybe they do something like that again, but right now that safety room is extremely depleted. And then you still have Alfred Collins out with a calf. He hurt it towards the tail end of his college season. He re-hurt it again during all of the workout drills for the draft, and he's still out. So not great. It would be nice to get a look at Alfred Collins, who was their second round pick. So yeah, and the frustrating thing is you look at this, Ricky Pearsall year 2, Jair Brown year 3, Malik Mustafa year 2, Marquise Siegel year 1, Alfred Collins year 1. These are the young guys. These are the guys that are supposed to be healthy. I mean, we're not even talking about CMC who showed up today. Some mixed reviews around him, but overall, he was there. Trent Williams, obviously not there, but is working out on his own, it sounds like. And then, you've got George Kittle, who was there, Fred Warner, who was there, not working out. But these are the older players. These are the guys who should be resting, but you only have so many bodies. So in order to make this thing tick, man, you really need these younger guys to be the ones that bring the energy and can make it through these types of things. So all of those guys, wishing a speedy recovery, and hopefully they can get on the field soon. Couple bits of good news though. Jawan Jennings, it sounds like just looked unstoppable today. And this tends to happen when receivers with the 49ers are up for a contract the way that Jawan Jennings is. It happened with Deebo Samuel when he was up for a contract that offseason. It happened with Aiyuk when he was up for a contract last or 2 off seasons ago, rather. And Jawan Jennings is next in line where these guys just kind of come in and take over. And it sounds like he is unstoppable right now, which is great to hear. And then Jordan Watkins, he's balled out a little bit. And, I wasn't happy with the Jordan Watkins pick. More not because, again, Jordan Watkins was a bad pick or a bad player. It was just more so that the 49ers need some offensive line help, in my opinion. So I was come on, man. Like your first offensive pick, this is the route you go. Another receiver. Well, the receiver room seems pretty thin. So, maybe maybe it was a good idea. And Jordan Watkins to me is like the better route running version of Debo. Not that he's going to be better than Debo, but I think that the way he's built, he's brought in to do the Debo things, but also, be a pure wide receiver, better hands, better route runner. And then hopefully he can provide some of the things that Debo was able to provide as well with the end arounds and maybe the wide back stuff, whatever that ends up being. But I think Jordan Watkins can do a little bit of everything, and I understand why he was drafted and liked by Kyle Shanahan. I just wish they had gone with an offensive lineman, but him playing well early, that is great to hear. They may need him. They may need him week 1, unfortunately, and that's not ideal for a rookie. But if he's able to make a difference already, beating Renardo Green pretty pretty handily, that's good news because he just may be needed. So that was great to hear. And then you have CMC. I mentioned there was some mixed reviews. I saw about 3 clips of CMC and I just quickly tweeted out like, "Hey, CMC looks like he's lost a step to me. I hope that I'm wrong about this, but he doesn't look as quick as he used to be." Now, again, this is based off of 3 clips. This is just a random thought that I had, but I reached out to Grant Cohn, who's a friend of mine, and he confirmed that he was seeing that in practice, and it sounds like he talked about it as well in some of his post-practice, stuff that he had. But it sounds like we're kind of off out on an island. A lot of people seem to think that he looks great, people that were there. So hopefully, I would rather be wrong on this one. Like, this isn't about being right. It was literally a random thought, but he definitely didn't look like the CMC of old. But I that's 3 plays. So hopefully I'm wrong and those other folks are right and CMC looks awesome, but just a random observation. All right, let's move into this Aiyuk stuff because that's what this show is titled. It is about Aiyuk's cryptic messages. And really we have to go back to when Aiyuk was drafted and remember that the turmoil between Brandon Aiyuk and the 49ers, Kyle Shanahan specifically, at times has kind of clouded the time that Aiyuk has been here. I mean, the whole doghouse thing where it was clear he was in a doghouse, but Shanahan didn't want to admit it. And then Aiyuk came out and talked about it last offseason about how he absolutely was in the doghouse. He's been a really good player, but also just kind of left out of the game plan in big games at times. 2021, what was it? 2021 NFC Championship game against the Rams. Maybe it's 2022. Might be getting my years mixed up. Either way, that NFC Championship game, I remember after that game was over, I went back and watched the all 22, and I did a cut up of every single route that Brandon Aiyuk ran. It was something like 23 routes he ran, and out of the 23 routes, 17 he was wide open, and he only got thrown to like 4 times in that game. I think he caught all 4 passes, had like 100 yards or 80 yards or whatever it was. But my point then was, man, if they had just force-fed Brandon Aiyuk, they might have won that game because Brandon Aiyuk he was going up against a DB that had no business guarding him and was cooking all game long. And you know that Brandon Aiyuk notices this as well. And then when they get to the Super Bowl 2 seasons ago against the Chiefs, he has 6 targets for 3 catches and 49 yards. The 2 biggest plays of that game potentially were one where the Chiefs blitz with McDuffie off the slot. Brandon Aiyuk hits a slant, is wide open, fills the spot where the blitz came from, and Brock Purdy throws to the outside slant to Jawan Jennings. The ball goes incomplete. It was a big 3rd down. That moves the chains. That probably wins you the game. And then there was the overtime play where he's wide open in the end zone and the pass rush got there so quickly, Brock's unable to see him. I think he also threw to Jawan Jennings, but it was more of like a just saving himself, throwing the ball away. That also would have won the 49ers the game. So you understand where IU could be a little bit frustrated. And then you have and just to make sure that we know he's frustrated, by the way, Brandon Aiyuk talked about or puts out something on Instagram like, don't forget what got you there after the Super Bowl. Well, he's watching his teammate and Deebo Samuel get 11 targets, have the same 3 catches and 16 less yards, and probably thinking like, why is this dude getting force fed? I'm better than him. And quite frankly, at that stage, Brandon Aiyuk was better than Deebo Samuel. But, game plans, quarterback decisions. I mean, there's so much that goes into it. I'm not trying to just like blame Shanahan. I'm trying to reiterate what has happened to this point to get us to where we're at today and what has happened over the last 48 hours. So Brandon Aiyuk then has the long drawn out offseason last year where it's like, will he be traded? Will he not be traded? He's good with 26 million. Then he's good with 30 million and back and forth and back and forth. And ultimately, he and Kyle Shanahan decided that it was best if he stuck around. So much so that it sounds like they were about to accept a trade with him going to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Aiyuk walks in day of the trade going down, tells Kyle, just kidding. I want to stick around. And Kyle The famous story is he ran up to John Lynch to make sure that he wasn't being traded and stopped everything from happening. At that point, Aiyuk signed his contract. Started out last year very slow. Although, people talk about separation. That was everybody's favorite topic last year. And Brandon Aiyuk was the number one receiver through 7 weeks last year in total separation, um, for qualified receivers at like, or no, it was the first 5 weeks. He was number one. I think that's around the time he got injured, but number one in separation and against man and zone. So Brandon Aiyuk once again getting open. People acted like he was a shell of himself. Yes, he wasn't putting up the numbers, but um, stats say otherwise, that he was definitely getting open. So you add that in. He has a serious injury. Okay, you don't hear much from Brandon Aiyuk. Obviously, he's not around the team. He's rehabbing. All of those things, and then over the course of the last 72 hours or so, you have TJ Hushmanzada come out, who you have to remember is Brandon Ayuk's personal wide receiver coach during the offseason. We heard from him a lot last year during these contract talks. He's come out and said that he believes Brock Purdy is overpaid. He would have preferred that they paid him around 47 million, and that when he was asked to be the guy, he could not live up to those expectations, and it'll take Brock Purdy winning a Super Bowl. Uh, Not my favorite take. Uh, I don't understand the take, but regardless, that's for a different episode. But TJ Hushmanzada did say those things. Now, when I first heard them, I did remember that he is Brandon Ayuk's personal receiver coach. I also know that he is a media member, is on Fox Sports 1. He has his own opinion. And you would assume that that didn't come from Brandon Aiyuk until about 24 hours later when Julio Jones was on a podcast talking through the Super Bowl. The Falcons famously lost the 28-3 lead to the Patriots, and talked about how he only received 4 targets in that Super Bowl against the Patriots. He caught all 4 of those, and he was upset about it. And so much so he was upset about it that if you go watch the clip, it's actually worse than just reading the quotes, because he says it, the hosts then try to move on, or co-hosts, whatever they were, tried to move on from the topic, and he goes, yeah, but wait, and then goes back into how frustrated he was about the 4 targets, making sure that everybody knows he wasn't happy. Now, a lot of people are running with it, saying it's a dig at Shanahan. Could be, I don't know, but on the surface, it feels like it at the very least. Obviously, he was unhappy with his targets. And when you look at it, okay, that was, 8 years ago, whatever. Well, immediately Brandon Ayuk goes to his Instagram and posts a picture of Julio Jones and tags him. That's not a coincidence. It's pretty clear that Brandon Ayuk is still upset. It feels like he doesn't want to be a part of the 49ers. Let's also not forget the weird short skate thing last year where he comes out to practice wearing the wrong colored shorts. Shanahan loses his mind, tells him to put on the black shorts. He strips down right there on the field, puts on the black shorts, kicks the red shorts, throwing a temper tantrum seemingly. It just, everything is off with this whole thing, and it makes you wonder, why did he and the 49ers agreed to this marriage, this contract? It was, they both wanted to part ways. And it's not just Brandon Ayuk, right? Like, I don't want to just put this off like it's all Brandon Ayuk, because it's not. The 49ers this offseason didn't cool the flames of potential trades when it came to Brandon Aiyuk. Oh, we're listening to everything. And uh, they had a big lump sum of money that was due to him by a certain date. It's April 1st, which they build into most of their contracts, and continuously stoked the flames. Oh, he's up for grabs. We listen to everything, and maybe, and this and that. And had plenty of opportunities to say that you're not trading Brandon, and you did none of that. Then you have Matt Mayoko, who is the most trusted reporter, I would say, when it comes to the 49ers. The 49ers kind of slide things his way. He comes out and says, hey, Brandon's going to be on the pup list to start the season. Well, what if Brandon disagrees? What if Brandon thinks he can be back by week 2, week 3? I don't know. I don't know the status, but it's sure is working hard. So I'm not placing blame one way or another. But what I will say is, and I was a big advocate of signing Brandon Aiyuk. Trust that. Like I was big on it. I think he's super important. And I looked into the future. This is why I was so big on signing Brandon Aiyuk, is because I knew that Deebo Samuel wasn't going to be there long term. It felt like George Kittle might not be there long term. Now he's gotten extended, so he might be there a couple more years. But when you look 3 years down the road from last season, it's very possible that he was the last guy, that Jawan was gone and all of that. And he was supposed to be a core piece, in my opinion. And his contract 3 years later, when he's the core piece, the clear number one guy, and CMC and Kittle and Debo are gone, Brandon Ayuk, it would be totally worth the money, more than worth the money, especially if he continued to ascend. But man, you got paid. You said you wanted to stay. The 49ers said they wanted you. And then all off season, it's just more and more drama. The team has been clear almost that they don't want you. And if you weren't injured, they'd be able to trade you and they would be fine doing so. You're coming out basically saying you're still pissed off. You don't want to be here. It's strange. And it's unfortunate because when you look at the 49ers this year, 38% of this roster is new. Only 62% of last year's roster remains. This is a team that has had that core and rolled it forward and rolled it forward and rolled it forward year after year after year. And this year, they have a bunch of young players, and 38% of that roster is new, which is like the second most turnover in the NFL. And that's not including the second year guys, the Ricky Pearsalls, the Jacob Cowings, the Malik Mustafas, the Dominic Poonies, all of those guys. Brandon Ayuk and how you handle this situation is setting the groundworks and the tone for this new regime, this new set of players. It just, I don't like it. I talked all last offseason about the vibes, and when I was at training camp, it was off. It was clear something wasn't right with this team, and I was right. There was something off. Now I wasn't bold enough to come out and say, "Hey, this team's going to go 6-11." But as soon as the season started and we were about 4 games in, I said, it's over. Rip the Band-Aid off. Get rid of these guys now that aren't a part of the future. Go get your draft picks and move on. This team is done. Now, I don't feel that way this year. Everything feels like it's on the up and up, but this dark cloud of Brandon Ayuk, and really not just Ayuk, the friction, I should say, between Ayuk and the team, it's just, you can't have it. You cannot have it. Brandon Aiyuk all last offseason talked so well about Jaden Daniels. I'm sure he's super stoked to see that Jaden Daniels had a phenomenal year and his ex-teammate Deebo Samuel's playing with Jaden Daniels. It's like Deebo's living the life that this guy wants to live. He got the 11 targets in the Super Bowl undeserved. He got to play with Jaden Daniels, and Ayuk's acting out over here, pissed off. So I don't know. Again, I'm not going to place full blame on anybody because the team did kind of start with going in again this offseason, and Ayuk's just now kind of getting around to responding, but it's not good. It is not good no matter how you slice it. So uh let's see here. Major Briggs says BA's acting like the dude, and not only is he not, but that's not his personality. He's humble, quiet, hard worker. Just be that. Yeah, it's interesting because Brandon Ayuk was that guy, but there was always a little bit, of the dog in him, right? Let's not forget, where the training camp where he went face to face, chest to chest with Fred Warner and fought him at training camp. And then all the crap that he's talked to Diamador Lenore. I mean, he's kind of helped Diamador Lenore grow. Really, I credit Brandon Ayuk with Diamador Lenore being as good as he is, because not only did Demo have to face that man when he was in complete demon mode as he was trying to get paid 2 off seasons ago, but he would talk trash to Diamador Lenore all the time, not only in practice, but after practice in the locker room. And it was all in good fun, but that made Demo raise his game. Like, I really do think that competition that Brandon Ayuk brought to Demo's front door has helped kind of create this guy in Diamador Lenore that we see today. And, I think it's a great thing. But yeah, BA quiet. I felt like more really a captain of the team early on. I felt like he should have been named that, not going into last year, but the year before. I really felt like he should have been named a captain, and he crushed it in training camp and crushed it during the regular season, and had the great play, the face mask catch against Detroit that really saved the 49ers season. But man, who he is right now and what he was last offseason, paired with the way that the 49ers front office and everybody seems to talk about him, it just is something is off, and I don't it's not good. I don't like it, and it's palpable. You can feel it. It's there. Anybody that thinks that it's not there and it's, oh, just BA's being BA and the team's just, no, 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 no. You can feel it. You can see it. It's obvious. Don't let anybody gaslight you into thinking it's something different. Now, I'm not saying that it's irreparable either, but Shanahan, as the leader of this team, has to be on the phone with BA, sorting out whatever grievance that there is. Get him on the right page, get him off of social media, and get his mind right for the betterment of the team, or trade him, or trade him. If it is irreparable, then you have to move on. Whatever the cap hits are, it doesn't matter. You can't have that in the locker room. And again, I'm not putting it all on BA. The team has also done their part in this. We just went through the whole timeline of when he was a young player, a rookie, being put in the doghouse and all of it. But you've got to repair this relationship or move on, period. So I know FB Lifer says, "Oh, here we go again," shaking my head. I know, brother. I know. It's I don't know. It's not good. It's not good, but it does seem like this was so last year. What are we doing? Anyways, here we are. I'll be back tomorrow. I do have 5 49ers players who are under the most pressure to perform. I had intended on talking about that tonight, but I will save it for tomorrow night. This Brandon Ayuk stuff was just too in our face to not talk about. So wanted to bring that up, wanted to update you on what's going on at OTAs, and I will be back tomorrow, same time, same place, for another 49ers Daily. This is Jesse with Last Second Sports signing out. Peace.